Magandang araw, Malacañang Press Corps, and welcome sa ating press briefing ngayon, September 13th. In yesterday's sectoral meeting with the President, Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, provided updates on the implementation of the Digital Philippine ID and other directives from the President. The agency also presented measures on improving their budget utilization. To give us more information about these, here with us today is DICT's Secretary Ivan John Uy. Good morning, Secretary Uy.
Good morning, Daphne.
Go ahead.
Well, since I have a floor. Yesterday we had our sectoral meeting with the president, and we discussed the ICT matters. Primary topic of discussion was the deployment of a national digital ID. As you all may be aware, we've had this PhilSys ID system that that has been assigned to the Philippine Statistics Authority to provide a national ID system. And so the data capturing occurred several years back, and everybody's been waiting for their physical plastic ID. So a lot of uh, delays have already happened, and there are many of our countrymen who have been complaining that up to this date they have not yet received their national ID. And so the president um, has expressed his impatience because a lot of things needed to be done, and it's all dependent on the deployment of a national ID. So recently, actually a few months back, the president tasked the DICT to figure out how do we now deploy a national ID without having to wait forever for the plastic ID card. So DICT prepared a study and a plan to deploy a national digital ID, which is an identity system that can be loaded on your respective mobile phones. Actually, this is already a leapfrogging, no? Because in most countries, developed countries in the world, they are actually using digital IDs rather than physical card IDs, because this has more use cases and it allows for better online transactions dahil karamihan po natin ng mga netizens are already doing online transactions. And this became more urgent because during the pandemic, most of us has actually shifted from physical um, cash transactions to online transactions, which gave rise to actually a significant increase in online commerce as well as digital payment systems. So nalaganap yung ano po no yung digital e-wallets dahil dumami po yung mga gumagamit nito during the pandemic. So this became more urgent that in order to secure our transactions online, dapat po there is a valid way of verifying the identity of each person that is transacting online. Kaya po ni-propose natin sa ating mahal na Pangulo uh, na DICT will take the lead in developing and deploying a digital ID, most especially on a mobile platform. So, uh, but however, in order to do that, we needed to be able to access the all the data that has already been captured by the Philippine Statistics Authority, because they were the primary agency tasked under the law to do all the data capturing, yung mga biometrics natin, no? Mga facial recognition, mga fingerprint, and so on, as well as yung mga personal information, date of birth, and all the family circumstances and so on. So as of our last report, I think they have captured about 80 million identities already, and it's in their database. So for us to be able to convert it to a digital format, we needed access to that database so that we can deploy it on a digital platform. So that was the discussion, and that was where we reported to the president as to how we are going to adopt it on a digital platform, and so that it can eventually be used for all our online transactions. Lalo na po ngayon, dahil last June we launched the eGov app, which is a one-stop shop platform where different government services are integrated into a single app. So i-include po namin doon yung digital ID sa eGov app, so that when you transact using your digital ID credentials on that single Gov app, hindi na po kayo magsa-sign on pa sa ibang ahensya ng gobyerno kasi nandoon na. So example, na verify yung credentials nyo using your national ID, digital ID, at okay na kayo, you can directly connect to your PhilHealth account. At hindi na po tatanungin ng PhilHealth kung sino kayo dahil na-verify yung identity nyo. So ma-access nyo na yung mga PhilHealth number nyo, contributions nyo, premium, availments, and so on. And many other government agencies for that matter. So that's the status of our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Uy. We can start with Nestor Corrales.
Good morning, Morning, Secretary. Does this mean that the government has given up on the issuance of physical ID, since instead of thinking ways on how to fast track the release of physical IDs, it seems that the government is now shifting to a digital ID. May nakalaan po kasing budget ito sa pagpiprint ng physical IDs. Will we still receive our national IDs, physical national IDs? If yes, how long?
You'll have to ask PSA on that. But as far as we're concerned po, we're doing this in parallel because the public has grown impatient. Medyo, I think, 4 years na po or 5 years, no? Delayed yung kayo, wala pa kayong mga digital ID nyo. So medyo the public has grown impatient and they don't want to wait forever to get that physical ID. So kaya sabi namin, i-parallel na natin. So habang they're taking their time to do the physical printed ID, we will also deploy our digital ID dahil mas mabilis po ito. Ang objective po namin, sana may magandang Christmas gift ang ating mga kababayan by end of the year, ma-deploy natin significantly yung digital ID. So sa loob po ng ilang buwan, we will do our best to be able to deploy that digital ID system. Ang importante lang po dito is malinis po yung data na ibibigay sa amin ng PSA. Alam na po natin na in computer po, garbage in is garbage out. So kung medyo may problema yung data na maibigay sa amin, medyo mahirapan kami na i-deploy yung digital ID format dahil kung mali yung data na yun, mali rin yung data ng i-deploy, no? Garbage in, garbage out. So we have to exert efforts in order to make sure na yung data na ibinigay sa amin hindi corrupted, hindi sira, or hindi kulang, no? In order to be able to deploy. But as far as we're concerned, kung okay naman yung link up ng system namin into the database of PSA at seamless yung migration of that data, we can deploy the digital ID fairly quickly because it's a technology deployment now. It's no longer a physical printing deployment. Marami po kasi taning kailangan gamitin yung national ID, no? Isa doon yung sa social amelioration package natin for DSWD, mga 4Ps, itong fuel subsidy na in-announce na po ni Secretary Jimmy Bautista, lahat po yon kailangan ma-validate po natin yung mga recipients. Tunay ba sila? Hindi double recipient, double registrant, or baka patay na pero nag-claim pa rin. So yung National Digital ID will be a good mechanism to filter out all these gaps or these holes, no, in the bureaucracy that are being exploited.
Okay. Sam Medanilia, Business Mirror.
Sir, itatanong lang po namin, out of dun sa 80 million, ilan na po yung mga nag-register for PhilSys, yung meron na pong digital version ng ID nila?
Actually, they don't have to register po. Once na na-capture na po ng PhilSys system yung data nila, we can convert that into a digital format. Since digital yung capture, yung facial recognition, yung biometrics, lahat digital yan. So, gagawa lang kami ng system para i-connect yung eGov super app natin para ma-access yung data. So, that's where DICT is involved in connecting. So, once ma-connect natin yon, ma-integrate natin, so we will have what we call a single sign-on system with an eKYC, an electronic know your customer system. So, the way we intend to do it is you would now be able to transact online using your mobile devices. However, of course, pinag-isipan rin namin, just in case wala po kayong cellphone or wala kayong connectivity or yung cellphone nyo yung hindi smartphone. So we're working out ways in order for you to still be able to utilize your digital ID even with those limitations. So pinag-aaralan po namin 'yon at tinetesting pa namin yung sistema, and once we have it, pwede namin i-demonstrate ngayon sa inyo once na ready na.
Okay. Jinky Baticados, IBC 13.
Hi, Secretary. Good morning po. Sir, speaking sa mga ganitong klaseng platform po, like mobile platform, anong safeguards po ang ibinibigay ng DICT para ma-ensure po na hindi ma-hack, hindi ma-scam?
All our systems are developed with security in mind, no? So this is what we call in our approach security by design, meaning security is not as an afterthought. Kumbaga, from the very beginning when we design it, it's already with security features. So today, we're using best of breed security systems in order to develop and deploy these apps and these systems. Of course, that's not always a guarantee, no? Even the US or these top-notch countries with the best security, and somehow criminals still find a way. So it's always a cat and mouse thing. They find a way. We develop strategies and procedures in order to plug those holes. They find another one, then so it's an arms race, kumbaga, to do so. But we are practicing best practices in cybersecurity in order to protect the data. For instance, to give you an example, yung eGov Super App po, your data does not reside in the app. It still resides in the respective government agencies that contain your data. So example, yung data nyo sa PhilHealth, nandun po sa PhilHealth database yan. Yung data nyo sa SSS, nandun sa SSS database. Yung data nyo sa Pag-ibig, nandun sa Pag-ibig database. What the app merely does is verifies your identity, your credentials, so that you can now link and access into SSS database, into PhilHealth database. So, assuming na makompromiso yung app, which we find unlikely, but kung makompromiso, hindi rin nila makukuha yung data dahil wala po sa app yung data. Dapat i-hack nila, hindi lang yung app, i-hack pa nila yung sistema ng SSS para ma-extract yung data. I-hack pa rin nila yung app at saka yung Pag-ibig system para ano po, hindi ho natin nilagay lahat ng itlog sa isang basket. Kumbaga nakahiwalay-hiwalay yan lahat. That's one system where we design so that it's not a single point of failure, kumbaga.
Okay. Job Manahan.
Sir, good morning po. You mentioned kanina that President Marcos expressed his impatience dun sa rollout ng physical national ID. May ultimatum din po ba siya sa sa rollout ng digital IDs before the end of the year?
Well, wala naman pong ultimatum. Kami na po ang nagbigay ng basically ng goal namin, no. I think we were only being able to be given access to the database, I think just a month ago or 2 months ago. So medyo ambitious po ang ating goal na last July lang tayo nabigyan ng access. We're hoping that by year end makaka-deploy tayo. Kung ang PSA po inabot ng 4 na taon, hindi pa ho nila matapos-tapos yung deployment. So we're very optimistic. I believe in the capabilities of our people in order to do that. If you would observe po, yung eGov app natin po, less than 1 year in office tayo, na-deploy po natin yon. In many instances, a lot of people were saying that was an impossible task to get different government agencies to cooperate, to collaborate, and to link up their data into a single platform. In many IT projects po, no, na ayun yung isa sa pinakamahirap po, no, na to get the cooperation of the different government agencies to be willing to share. Normally it's a turf thing. Gusto nila sila may control at ayaw nilang i-give up. So nakita po natin na in less than 1 year nakagawa po tayo ng eGov super app, which based on the reviews that we've been getting, our score on the Apple Store is 4.3, one of the highest scores in a perfect score of 5, no, for an app system. And kung makita niyo mga commentaries, karamihan ng mga commentaries po, it's about time. Finally, government is getting its act together and deploying online. So based on that track record po that we're able to do this app, single app in less than 1 year, I'm hoping that with the full support of the president and the full support perhaps of our legislators to give us all the necessary budget and support, that we'll be able to deploy this at least, if not 100%, a significant portion of it by year end.
Secretary Uy, I just remembered at the sectoral meeting last month, you had mentioned, and you also mentioned today, that a lot of this relies on the quality of the data that will be transferred to you from the PhilSys. And you had mentioned that the possibility of maybe it could be corrupt from the biometrics that have been taken, the retina and things like that. Should you run into a problem, like, does that delay the process?
Depends on the extent of the poor data collection. For instance, initially, we've already seen that there are some na imbis na high resolution yung camera na ginamit. Dahil if you want to do biometrics facial recognition, dapat high resolution po yung camera to capture all the vital points, no? Yung at that time, I don't know kung sino yung kinontrata nilang provider, mukhang webcam lang or something, very poor quality ang ginamit. So kung yun ang ginamit pag capture, pangit po. Pangit yung resolution, pangit yung ano. So kung yan ang nasa database at ililink po natin sa ating sistema na magre-require ng biometric, hindi tutugma yan. Dahil the biometric will be looking for those features, hindi naman na-capture nung camera nun. So ang mangyari dyan, uulitin ngayon yung pag-data capture. Kawawa yung kababayan natin, no? Nag-absent or nag-ano para pumila doon para kunin yung mga data. At ngayon, uulitin na naman sila doon. Siguro may ipapako sa krus dito. Kung ganun po ang...
Sana wag naman.
So well, that will have to be ascertained But may instances kami nakita na ganun. So, not to mention na gastos nga, no? Sabi ni Eden. Gagastos ulit tayo to deploy that. So, nasayang yung pera. But we'll try to avoid that as much possible. Sana naman po minimum. Maliit lang yung portion na ganon. Pero kung significant po, hindi naman po madidelay yung project. We will still be able to deploy based on those good information or good data. Ang madidelay lang yung mga portion na medyo pangit yung pagka-capture, dapat ulitin yun.
Okay. Eden Santos, Net 25.
Sir, good morning po and happy birthday kay Job Manahan. Sir, paano po kung problema na ngayon nabanggit nyo na yan, ano? Kung mahina pa yung internet connection dito sa ating bansa, paano po magiging effective yung ating digital ID? At syempre, yung binabanggit nyo po more on sa government transactions, ano po? What about sa private? So, ibig sabihin ba, we still need yun pong physical national ID?
Thank you, Eden. And ka-birthday pala ni Job si Presidente. So, ito po, no? That's why, na-mention ko kanina, pinag-aaralan namin yung deployment rin ng the digital ID that is usable in case na walang online access or what we call offline, no? Offline access, how we will design the system so that kahit na yung mga kababayan natin na walang cellphone, walang smartphone, makakapag-transact pa rin sa gobyerno using their digital ID credentials without even a mobile phone. There are different models that we're currently studying at medyo isusurpresa na lang namin kayo once na ready na yon. Papakita namin sa inyo para medyo maganda yung yung dating ng approach natin doon. So, but may maraming mga methods in order to do that. Of course, no, in terms of access, ang responsibilidad po ng DICT is e-governance. So government agencies ang responsibility namin in order to provide that kind of access. The private sector will have to approach us if they want to have their private services connect to our eGov super app. But may module na po tayo na pwedeng gamitin ito. For instance, mag-a-apply kayo ng loan sa mga bangko, pwedeng yung mga bangko makaka-validate ng identity nyo even without your card. They can use the digital platform to validate your identity using your biometric features, and then they will verify your identity. Then they can now open a bank account for you or open a online banking wallet or e-wallet for you. So some of those features will be incorporated in our eGov Super App. So basically, it's a national ID, but it can now be used not just for government transactions, but also for private transactions.
Okay. Ivan Marina.
Sir, good morning. Nabanggit niyo po ide-deploy. What exactly can the public expect to be given to them? Merong hubang mag-send sa akin ng link and then kailangan ko siyang i-download? What exactly is a digital ID? For those who are less, tech inclined.
Okay. Well, alam mo to kayo. Our system, no? Our system actually, you have to download the app. So here we have the eGov Super App. So you download the app through your Apple Store or your Google Play. Then once you download the app, it will do a credentials, allow you to submit your credentials. Then with your credentials, you have to take a live selfie, provide all your data. Then the system now will check the PhilSys database, will check whether your face matches the face that you submitted when your data was captured.
Sec, 4 years na daw, nagbago na itsura.
Well, then you will receive probably a revalidation notice na can you just revalidate it. Maraming nagrereklamo na bakit ang pangit daw ng picture nila doon. So I think we're going to provide a feature where you can choose a better picture if you want. But it will still may nagsuggest na dapat for a fee daw eh. For a fee para so so when you download the app, then the app will be the one to allow you to access the system. We are exploring the possibility of sending a text message to you because nung nagparehistro po kayo sa PhilSys, may cellphone number kayong inilagay doon. So, ima-match namin yung cellphone number niyo doon sa pangalan niyo sa SIM card registration. Kung tumugma yung SIM card registration na pangalan at number sa pangalan at number na binigay niyo doon sa then magpapadala kami ng text message sa inyo na ready na yung digital ID niyo. Go to this site or click the link and then you will be brought to that site where you'll be able to access and download your digital ID. But of course, we have to be wary that mga phishing attempts there. So we are just thinking about it, but we're thinking of other ways of being able to notify you properly without it being exploited by cyber opportunists or cyber criminals in order to do that.
So we will announce that before it happens. So habang ngayon, wala pa.
Wala pa.
Wala pa.
Wala
So,
pa ngayon.
Be careful.
Kasi naglilink inaayos pa namin yung linkage namin with PSA at in order to clear up yung migration at access to those data. But we're working on it. So give us a little time. It's September. Burn na nga pala, no? Merry Christmas. September, October, November. So we have 4 months in order to do this. The pressure is on us, but as the president said, we cannot delay this anymore. And medyo we are, kumbaga, traveling at warp speed, no? In all our digital deployment. So minamadali po natin ito dahil kailangan na po ito upang ma-plug natin lahat ng mga holes, lalo na sa mga social amelioration packages natin. Marami pong areas na medyo nawawaldas yung pera ng gobyerno dahil sa mga fake claimants at sa mga double, triple claimants dahil gumagamit ng iba-ibang identity, parehong tao sa different areas para makapag-claim ng 2 beses o 3 beses yung claimant.
We have a follow-up question from Nestor Corrales.
Sir, just to press on the delay of the national ID. During the meeting yesterday with the President, what issues or challenges were identified that is why the issuance of the physical national ID is taking forever? And you also mentioned that the President is already impatient. Did he mention if heads will roll or if there will be investigation regarding the delay of the national ID? Because there is a budget for this one. Kaya ang tanong is, bakit siya na-delay? Tatanggapin na lang ba natin na dahil na-delay siya, we will have an alternative and let's abandon the main purpose na physical national ID dapat yung ibibigay natin?
I think that will have to be, we'll have to ask the President and we'll have to ask the agency heads, no? How they're going to resolve those issues. Basta ang assignment lang ni Presidente sa amin, since matagal na at hindi na tayo lahat makaantay, binigyan na kami ng assignment na hanapan ng solusyon. So, on our part, we are solutions-based. So, we are providing an alternative solution, digital. Since digitalization naman ang thrust ng ating Pangulo na i-digitalize ito. So, nandito lang ho tayo. Whether heads will roll or I think that's another department's concern. And you'll have to probably ask them what what will be the actions that's going to be taken. So kami po just solutions based kami. So kung anong assignment binigay ni Presidente sa amin, yun po ang aming tatalakayin at yun ang aming gagawin.
Okay. Jean Mangalus, Inquirer.net.
Hi, Sec. Balikan ko lang po yung pag-transfer ng 80 million na identities from PSA to DICT. Can I ask more about this? Wala po bang additional consent na needed from the users?
It's not a transfer. The database still remains with PSA. We're just going to access the database so that it can link to the application for validation, no, of the identity. So we're not accessing any. There's no transfer, kumbaga, of the information to us. We're just providing the linkage.
Okay. Jinky Baticados again, IBC 13.
Hi, sir. Sir, pupunta lang ako sa SIM card registrations po.
Okay.
Millions na po ang nakapagparehistro, sir. Why is it patuloy pa rin po yung mga text scams? And how the ICT address and to somehow resolve this issue po?
Ito, no? The SIM card registration was passed in order to plug a mode of scamming, which is through the use of SIM card. Natandaan niyo po, itong mga scamming na ito, they're as old as time. Dati po, mail, Nigerian scams. Alam niyo po yun, no? Yung mga mail scams. And then, nung lumabas yung mga email, nagkakaroon ng email scams. So, nag-e-evolve po at nag-e-evolve. Ang nangyari lang po is when SIM cards and mobile phones came out, ito po ang pinakamadaling method to deploy a scam operation na nahanap ng mga cyber criminals. So, naging laganap ang ating scamming concerns because of the SIM card. And dahil dyan, our legislators came up with the SIM card registration to cut off this mode. It does not mean that the criminals have no other modes of conducting their scam. So nung pumasa yung SIM card registration, ang nagkaroon tayo ng deadline for SIM registration. Ang nangyari po, several things happened, no? Number one, the scammers move platforms. Since naputulan sila ng isang tool, which is the SIM card, in order to scam, they went to what we call the OTT, the over-the-top providers. Messenger, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, Viber, all of these over-the-top na hindi kailangan ng isang SIM card or isang SIM number. So doon po sila dumaan, pati email. Doon sila dumaan upang ituloy ang kanilang panloloko. Dahil medyo nabawasan po sila, no? Number two, kung mapapansin nyo, during the SIM card registration period, for me, in my personal case, I average about 6 or 7 text messages na scam per day. 6 or 7. Today, I probably get 1 or 1 in 2 days or 3 days. So, andyan pa rin, pero ang laki na po ng nabawas sa kanila. So, so that's a big reduction, no, in their capability of using the SIM cards. And how are they doing this? Number one, they are able to purchase pre-registered SIM from some of our fellow countrymen who are willing to sell their SIM card credentials for a fee. So pinagkakakitaan po nila yan. And we need to warn all of them that kung ginamit po itong SIM card na ito na nakarehistro sa kanila sa isang krimen at hinuli po namin ang mga perpetrators niyan, kasama po sila sa paghabla. At yung gagastusin nila sa abogado, mas malaki pa po kaysa sa kikitain nila sa pagbenta nila ng SIM card nila. So wag na wag po nilang ibenta yung kanilang credentials. Number 2, assuming hindi po nila binenta, may paraan po itong mga sindikato na bumili or magpa-manufacture ng fake identity sa some areas in our metropolis. Medyo madali pong makakuha ng fake IDs, no? May isang famous na kalye dyan sa may Manila na pati diploma, transcript, pwede ka pang bumili doon. So, dyan po, nakakabili sila ng fake na ID at ginagamit yung fake ID upang magparehistro. Third, gumagamit po sila ng social engineering or scanning ng mga Facebook social media accounts upang magnakaw ng credentials. So, titingnan nila yung Facebook account nyo, yung picture nyo, yung personal information nyo, at yun ang gagamitin para mag-apply ng tunay na ID sa isang ahensya ng gobyerno. Tandaan nyo po na nung umpisa po tayo nagkaroon ng SIM card registration, medyo stricto tayo sa requirement ng government-issued ID. At sa umpisa nun, medyo nagkaroon ng maraming reklamo dahil may isang portion ng ating population na wala pong government-issued ID. At dahil doon, medyo mababa yung take-up ng SIM card registration dahil maraming walang ID, government ID. So, in several congressional hearings, nakiusap po ating mga legislators kung pwedeng bawasan or medyo gaanan yung requirement ng government ID dahil maraming kababayan natin na wala nun. So, we liberalize it by allowing even barangay IDs to be accepted. Dahil niluwagan yan, mas marami ngayong makakalusot na mga fake or not really properly vetted credentials na nakakakuha nitong mga IDs nito. So, ganun na po nangyari, no? In fact, if you would notice, there are some government agencies that issue government IDs na card lang at pangalan nyo lang. Walang litrato. Kayo na po ang sariling maglalagay ng litrato doon sa card. So, kung ilagay nyo pong litrato ng isang daga or pusa or whatever animal, pasado yan dahil government-issued ID yan, no? Na tunay yung pangalan, tunay yung ano, at binigyan kayo ng opportunity to put your own whatever picture you want there, even if it is somebody else's picture or another creature for that matter. Kaya po nakakalusot niyan. So, that's why we need to deploy this national digital ID soonest because that will now remove all the opportunities to utilize all these other government IDs that have methods, no, in order to verify the identity of the person. So hindi na ho kayo kailangang gumamit ng ibang sistema dahil itong sistema with biometrics, with all the digital verification features will be more reliable in order to do that.
Sir, last lang po. Last, sir. How would the ICT po defend the confidential fund that you're seeking? Well, last year daw po and this year, you did not seek for such fund. So, paano niyo po madidepensa yon? Yung hinihingi ninyong confidential fund?
Well, actually, during the previous administration, meron merong confidential fund. It's just last year na wala dahil the last year was the previous administration's budget, no? So hindi nila in-include sa request nila yung confidential fund. As you very well know po, ang part of the mandate of the ICT is to go after these scammers. At wala po kaming nakatali pong kamay namin if we do not have this kind of capability. Marami pong paraan na ginagamit itong mga scammers in order to avoid detection and to avoid capture or arrest. and we need all the resources possible and all the tools possible in order to go after them. So the confidential fund is essential in order to conduct intel and investigation in order to go after these criminals. Ang na-explain ko kanina na itong mga cyber criminals po are very well funded, very well organized, and very highly technical. So we need, dapat tapatan po natin ito ng kaukulang kakayahan sa gobyerno na makahabol sa kanila. At nakatali po ang ating mga kamay kung wala po tayong proper tools in order to go after them. And many of these tools and many of these methodologies require confidential funds to do it.
Okay. Last question from Tuesday New, DZBB.
Hi, sir. Doon ba sa system po ng DICT ngayon para sa digital IDs ay hindi namin i-expect na mangyayari yung nangyari sa ginawa ng o pag-test ng NBI na nagpa-register, ang ginamit ay picture ng matching, tapos pag nag-register po dito sa inyo, walang ganong mangyayari. Paano po mapaprevent yun?
Well, mangyayari po yun kung kamukha nyo yung matching. Kidding aside. We're using biometric po, no? We're using biometric tech. Kidding aside. We're using biometric po, no? We're using biometric tech. Kidding aside. Nag-verify yung biometrics niya, yung fingerprint, yung iris, at saka yung facial recognition. So, I don't think mangyayari na po yun dahil the system will automatically yung facial recognition. So, I don't think mangyayari na po yun dahil the system will automatically yung facial recognition. So, it will be a one-on-one. So, hindi na po, sa tingin namin, hindi na po makakasingit yung ganong mga feature. Nakakasingit lang po yun dahil yung PhilHealth yata, no? PhilHealth ID yung ginamit doon. Eh alam niyo po, pag issue ng PhilHealth ID, wala pong picture yan. Ang binibigay lang po yan sa inyo is a card. Kayo na po bahala maglagay ng picture. Parang BIR TIN number. Card lang, pangalan, tapos kayo na ang bahala maglalagay ng picture. So ganun po nangyari. Ang nilagay ng picture ng matching. So yun ang tinanggap. Pero may lunas naman yun, no? Siguro pumunta kayo sa
Okay.
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 naman yun, siguro pumunta kayo sa
Okay.
naman yun, siguro pumunta kayo sa